Now, on a personal note,
Yes.
you had a tumor taken out of your leg.
Yeah, that was a bit of fun. Not quite 2 years ago. Well, actually, it goes back about 8 or 9 years ago. It was during a family Christmas gathering on Christmas Day, and I went to walk to it was a hot day. I went to walk to a pool where I was having Christmas that day, and I jumped in the air to jump in the water. And before I hit the water, I screamed with pain. So I got out of the pool and I torn the lateral gastroc head of my calf. It just went doing and tore. So that, it healed. It took a few months to heal. I
It
didn't really
does
think
hurt
much
too,
of it.
doesn't it? I've done that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've done a hamstring too. That hurts even worse. My God.
Uh,
Uh, but some months later, there was a bit of an ache there, and I started treating it like a tendonitis. So every so often I'd use some shockwave on it and massage it and so forth. And then over about 7, 8 years, it just seemed to get worse and worse and worse. And I started getting neuropraxic type pain along the common peroneal nerve. And so I was actually doing a day of training using diagnostic ultrasound a couple of years ago with Mark Yohini from Melbourne. I was in Melbourne doing this training, and James Ferry, who's well known in the area for using diagnostic imaging, was there training us. And I said, James, can you have a look at my leg? I don't know what's going on. I think it's some sort of tendonitis. Anyways, he used a high resolution system and was looking on it and thought, what the hell is that? And there was about a 5 centimeter lesion around the neck of my fibula, my left fibula, which when I looked on the screen too, I thought, because I've taken lots of ganglions out of the foot and ankle, and I thought that looks weird. So I got an MRI done through one of the big names here in Adelaide, and they thought it was an organised ganglion. And I said, for obvious reasons, I didn't really want to go to an orthopaedic surgeon. And I got sent to a plastic surgeon, and he took it out, and I had a dressing change. And about 10 days later, he said, I've got some bad news for you. It's a leiomyosarcoma. So that's a malignant tumour of smooth muscle. And he was a bit surprised. And if he had known beforehand, he would have taken a much wider piece of tissue out. And I ended up going to the sarcoma centre that's run by Dr. Luke Johnson. He's an orthopaedic surgeon. He's a very interesting guy. He was a high-level chef who then did medicine and then did orthopedics.
All right.
And he set up the sarcoma centre here in Adelaide that provides this sort of service. A lovely person, really great to talk to. And he's actually presenting to our group at our AGM next month on picking up sarcomas. Anyway, originally I was told you need radiation treatment followed by 2 weeks of chemo. And so I started the radiation treatment. You'd go in the morning, sit on a bench, and they'd rotate the machine around, and it will cook your leg, and then go to work. And I found I had 33 of these, so it was about a month or so. And after about 2 weeks, just extremely tired. I was actually surprised by the effect. I just managed to. I kept going to work, and I'd come home and just crash really. And it's like the worst case of sunburn you ever get on the area. And luckily, what's happened is every 3 months, I have a chest X-ray done, or chest CT, and an MRI on my leg, because there were some dots in my lungs, and sarcoma is the most common secondary place is in the lungs that they seed for metastases. So the dots on my lungs, it would appear, are due to being 59 next month and probably grinding orthotics and that sort of thing. And just due to my age, there don't seem to be metastases, thank God. And my leg hasn't changed at all. So next month it's 2 years, and I was told that 90% of recurrences happen at 2 years. And once you get to 3 years, 99% of recurrences happen. So they do kill you, and it means that those cells are moving around. And I can say when you first get the diagnosis, your head spins for.
I was going to say, was it a bit scary when you first heard it?
Yeah.
Did you sort of just go, oh, shit.
Yes, I didn't count on that. I've got some cardiovascular type disease in my family. I thought it'd be a heart attack or something like that.
Yeah.
That said,
I have a heart attack, not cancer.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm depressed now.
That said, I think I consider myself extremely lucky. There's some other outcomes that have occurred because I think it's about the best outcome you could get because it can be life-threatening. I've made some changes in my life. I actually now am essentially a plant-based diet. I have extremely little amount of animal protein, maybe 2 or 3 times a year now. I've lost some weight because of that. I feel healthier, dramatically reduced my alcohol intake. And so these are all positive spin-offs that came from that. But yes, it was a tense time for a period there.
Still scary times. I recently had the heart checked and lungs, and when they were doing the lung tests, and all of a sudden you go, the amount of cigarettes I smoked in my wild youth, and right up, I didn't stop smoking until I think I was 47 or something like that.
Yep.
And I was a pretty heavy smoker too. And they're doing this chest X-ray and everything else, and I'm just going, it's just going to be bad. Going to be
waiting
really
for
bad.
it.
Yeah. And then the doctor said to me, "You sure you ever smoked?" I went, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "Your lungs are perfect."
Oh, really?
He said, "No, I'm not condoning that you take it back up again." He said, "But whatever you've been doing the last 10 years," he said, your lungs are just spectacular. Heart, they do this cardiac score. 0, I can't remember if it's 0 to 10, 10's bad or whatever it was. But he said, heart, perfect. And I said, well, it's a healthy lifestyle I've been leading. And so obviously genetics play part of it as well. But
For sure.
it is, I think as you get to that certain age, you do start wondering about things you've done in the past. But I think it's a good warning. What you were saying just about that lump, though, is people need to pay attention. People need to listen to their body.
Yes.
Even us.
Yeah, and the truth is, in my case, if it didn't push on my common peroneal nerve, I probably wouldn't have done anything because it felt like tendonitis, honestly. And I consider myself lucky because much larger, then the outcome is not so good. So yeah, that was somewhat of a challenge.
Well, I think it's one of those things. I think anything you're not sure about, it's so much easier. Just get it checked out early and be told you're worrying about nothing, then leaving it. I'll tell you a funny story. I felt this little lump in my groin. So I said to my wife, "Hey, can you give me a hand for a sec?" She went, "Oh, do you have to?" I said, there's a lump there. I need you to check it. She goes, you do not. There is no lump there. So I grabbed a hand and I said, "Here." And she went, "I can't feel a lump." I said, "Oh, well, while you're there." And this is why your wives will not feel lumps in your groin. So I'm just telling you. Anyway, the lump's not there now. So it was a false alarm.
Good.
I'm sure people listening to this, but this is why sometimes people probably complain about the podcast.
You might get a few reactions to that story, I reckon, Tyson.
We've all done it. We've all said silly things.